Hello, everybody, and happy Victory Sunday. How are you doing right now? I am willing to venture a guess that you may be doing a little bit better than you might have anticipated, or perhaps you've been confident and feeling this way all day, in which case I salute you, because my discovery as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan over the last 30-something years that I have existed is that it is never comfortable. It is sometimes fun, but it is often painful. But when you win without a kicker on the road in a situation where no one expected you to do it, man, you just can't be upset about that. I love what the Pittsburgh Steelers did today. I think they planted a stake in the ground that says they are competitors in the 2021 NFL season. And I don't know. Anyway, we're going to talk about this for the next however long. As you know from following us and listening to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which, by the way, make sure you do that even if you listen on YouTube. You know that I'm about to be joined by the man himself, Mr. Gage Ryan. How you doing, bud?
How's it going, man?
Good, really good, actually. We might be joined by Austin at some point. We're not really sure. I think he'll hop in, but we shall see. Let's just get right into it, man. What are we gonna talk about? What's some first reactions? How you feeling? What are you thinking? You know, where you at?
This game had everything you would expect as a Steeler fan. Good run game, good defense, Mike Tomlin making terrible decisions in big spots. It was all there.
Yes, you sound like me. That's exactly it. Everything was on the menu today.
The defense single-handedly kept us in this game and covered up for a horrendous coaching performance, in my opinion.
They did. I thought the defense was, without question, the strong point of this game. Although I think you could probably make the argument, somebody could make the argument that the offense was also quite strong, because the offense did possess the ball quite a bit. I haven't looked. Do you have like the box score open? I
do not.
I haven't looked at the time of possession, but I'd be curious to see what that was like, because obviously against Cleveland, you anticipate them trying to have a lead.
A lot.
It was actually the Steelers won 31-45 to 28-15. So yeah, you gotta be, I guess, pleased with the offense. I don't know. I was upset that they weren't following through with these drives and finishing them, but they moved it.
Yeah, I mean, and when you have run-heavy, ball-control teams like the Browns, holding on to the ball for a long period of time is essential. Winning that time of possession battle is one of the biggest parts of beating the Cleveland team.
Oh, no doubt about it. Cleveland only had 306 yards of offense today. I think somebody told me on Twitter that I don't even think they had. No, they didn't even they didn't even hit 100 yards rushing today as a team.
No.
That to me is, if you had me bet on that, wouldn't you have bet everything in your house, even if the Steelers won, Cleveland would have got 100 on the ground? I mean,
without Tyson Alualu, yes, 100%.
Yeah, here's a guy I want to give a shout out to that nobody's gonna talk about because of the nature of his position, but I really thought Chris Wormley had a nice game today. He made some really nice plays plugging up stuff in the run game. I thought he looked like a little, Stephon Tuitt era, esque.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go quite that far, but I see your point. He had a good sack. He had a couple of stops in the run game. He definitely pulled his weight for especially for a backup. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I can at this point consider him a starter. I mean, because one way or another,
he's a starter because Tyson's out.
Yeah, one way or another, he's a starter this year. He's played a lot of snaps. But, you saw other guys. You saw Loudermilk in there just really, Loudermilk just turning into that really nice sort of lunch pail guy where he's not a liability when he's out there.
Yep.
Mondo's kind of the same classification. I like the rotation at the line. I mean, I think obviously we all know they'd be a lot better with Stephon Tuitt because we know how good he can be. But it's not a weakness. They're not, that was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, especially for who we had available. I mean, again, you're Stephon Tuitt, your second best pass rusher, and Tyson Alualu, hands down your best run defender. You know, we lose both of those guys, and yet we still held the best rushing offense in the league to under 100 yards. You really can't ask for much more than that from the defense.
No, just 96 yards on 23 carries. You know who I thought, this is going to sound like a little bit of a dig, but you know who I thought was terrible today? Was Jarvis Landry. I got a lot of respect for Jarvis Landry. I think Jarvis Landry's a really good player, and he killed us in that wild card game. But he had a couple plays on those last two drives that
wide open drops
that just were drops, and that you usually don't see that for him. And the other thing about their passing game, I know you and I are probably going to have different opinions on Beckham, but man, Beckham is a dynamic player in this league, and it's like he doesn't exist anymore. What do you think the deal is with that? Do you think it's him, or do you think it's a system, or like, I mean, because I know he's hurt a lot, but dude, that guy's dynamic, and he just like, it's like he doesn't even matter.
I can actually tell you the reason for that, because I've watched a couple of pieces that people have done about that. Primarily, Brett Coleman actually talked about the Stefanski offense, and the entire offense is essentially built to use the threat of Odell Beckham to get everyone else open. Like, that's why you see such a wide range of wide receivers that they can use, and such a wide range of tight ends. It's because there's so much emphasis on Odell Beckham. And so I like what they do with Odell Beckham in the offense, where they're not just volume feeding him, they're essentially just using him to get everyone else open.
Yeah, but he's still got to have, in a game like this, more than one catch for 6 yards, Gage. I mean,
we shut his ass down.
He's an NFL player. I mean,
that's what we've been doing, though. That's what we've been doing all year. This year is taking away the number one weapon, and we did a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, man, the defense is interesting because would you go so far as to say this was the best defensive performance of the season? I think you have to, right?
I think either this game or the Buffalo game. Definitely one of the two.
That would be the inclination, but I mean, I don't know. You gave up 10 points.
Well, Josh Allen is a significantly better passer than Baker Mayfield.
Okay, so you're adjusting for, but sure, yeah. but I could say the same thing about Cleveland. Typically is getting $180 on the ground on a regular day, and they got 100. So I think, you know, there's a little bit of. What did I say like a week or two ago? I said if you make Baker Mayfield throw the ball, he tends to come up short. He's clearly. I thought. I mean, I don't know if you felt differently, and of course he's not going to show it, and I respect him because he is a competitor. You know, like 100%. No doubt. I got, you know, the guy is actually a competitor. So, but. I gotta bring this up. I thought it was clear that he was playing injured, and Romo said, "Oh no, he's fine, whatever." There were some moments where he rushed throws, and his mechanics I thought were off. Romo was saying, "No, they're perfect," but I've watched Baker a lot, and I thought he missed some throws today. Not that he was terrible, but I was surprised they played him, and I wonder if that affected the outcome.
Yeah, well, two things I want to mention real quick. First of all, when I heard Romo say, "Oh yeah, Baker looks great today," I'm like, "The hell are you talking about? He's missed his last like 3 throws, and they were wide open receivers." Yeah, I didn't think he played great even for himself. Like, no, he didn't play complimentary football, and that's kind of what his MO is. I do have to mention this because it's bugging me, and I'm seeing it on Twitter, and I just saw it in the chat. Well, if that field goal fake they called works, then Tomlin's a genius. No, he's still a moron, because you need to understand situational awareness, which Tomlin has none. Yeah, that's all right. So I guess this is the inevitable sort of gorilla in the room, right? So I think we can not get too hyperbolic about the injury, because the Boz, that sucks. You know, I'm not saying long term, because it looked like he had a concussion. I think he just got popped, and you know, maybe he'll miss a game and they'll sign somebody off the street. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be a long term. Except, could you imagine he goes like AB after the wild card game and he just can't stop? I almost bought a Boswell jersey this week, and I probably, because I didn't pull the trigger, is probably why that happened.
But no, him getting rocked aside, I just didn't think it was a smart value proposition. This is what me and you talk about a lot with Tomlin and his sort of dinosaur tendencies. I think to him, oh, well, we wanted to be aggressive. Yeah, but there's a difference. Being aggressive is going for it on 4th and 3 at the 50,
Or how about calling 4th and 1 when you're down 28 points in the wild card round?
Exactly. I want to get this exactly right because I'm going to use this as a clip on social media because I'm going to nail this, right? So listen, the fake field goal. Okay, here's why it cannot succeed. Number one, you ran a play that you've already put on tape. Yep. That was the same play to Ala Villanueva against Denver in 2018. Same play. Not only that, you did it in the similar position on the field, and you did it against your closest rival, who, if anybody knows what you've put on tape, it's going to be them. Okay? They're going to know. They're going to know what you put on tape. And besides all that, you get the ball first to start the second half. Your defense is playing great. You have controlled the ball the entire second quarter. You could double your output. You'd be up 6-3. And if you get a stop, hell, the Steelers still had 2 timeouts at that point. They could have gotten a stop and gotten the ball back. I mean, they even after they exchanged possessions, they even got the ball back at like the 35 with some time, but they didn't do anything because they knew they didn't have a kicker. But the proposition just doesn't make any sense. And then on top of that, you get Boswell killed, and to me that's more on him than it is on the play call was bad. But Boz, you're a kicker, man. If the play is not there, you gotta just throw it away. I'm sorry, you're not gonna scramble around. Once it's once you didn't trick them, you're not gonna find a spot and rifle it in. So you got to just get rid of it. But he's a fucking kicker, and that's his job. So I don't know, dude. That
fake field goal is one of the worst play calls in Steeler history, and you cannot change my mind.
No, I thought it was terrible. I really thought it was going to be one of those things that we were going to be sitting here this afternoon dissecting and saying that was like the play of the season that we lost. I mean, because it felt so monumental. I mean, for one, it seemed that it would be insurmountable to go out and win this game without a kicker, and a game that was going to be this close game. And I mean, I know you can't think this way, but if the game script, if you assume it were to run out the rest of the way roughly similar to how it did, the Steelers could have easily, I mean, it wouldn't even have really been a one-possession game because they would have been up, 20-10? Right?
Something like that, yeah.
Because they would have had 2 more extra points and a field goal if they just kicked the field goal at the... So, I mean, yeah, it would have been a 10-point game. So,
pretty much every game has to be this nail-biter, stressful game that comes down to the wire. I say it on Twitter almost every week nowadays. It's illegal for the Steelers to play well for 4 quarters.
Yeah, it is. But... here's the thing about today, though, that's kind of crazy, is I don't know that it's weird because it's a 15-10 game and it's just a weird, goofy game on its surface. But I kind of feel like it was their best game of the season in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel impressed by it at any point, but I think considering the context and the opponent and what everything meant, I think I'm gonna be sitting back looking at this one as one of my favorites in a while. There was just something about that felt important, and the Steelers answered. That wild card thing really had the ability to snowball into something here that changed for a long time. And going into their house and getting that dub today, I mean, I'll knock Mike for so much of what he did today. But at the end that's the thing with him. At the end of the fucking day, he fucking did it. Like, so
But he didn't do it. He got bailed out by his players.
okay, he got bailed out by his players, but you could say he played. I mean, he knew that the Steelers were ball controlling offense. Honestly, the whole game was like role reversal. I thought the Steelers looked like what you expected the Browns to look like.
Yeah.
And
I hear you.
And you know, you saw what happened when you get Cleveland into 2nd and long. If Cleveland doesn't get plus yardage on 1st down, their offense stinks. They really are. Their offense is great if they get 5-6 on 1st, but if you shut that down, their offense is not very good.
Baker is a very, I don't want to say very, but he is a limited quarterback.
He's just good at what he does.
He's good. He's a system quarterback. It's kind of like when you make Tom Brady throw a ball longer than 10 yards. You know,
please.
No,
he
but
chucked
like,
up that 50-yarder to AB earlier this year,
and I'm sure he was wide open when he did it.
Yeah, so.
But like, it's so frustrating because this is a game where the offense played well and the defense played well, but because of shitty situational awareness, bad play calls on primarily the defense, I would say, and bad referees have made this game way closer than it should have been.
Okay, well that's fine, but I think that this game was going to be close. I accept that this game was going to be close no matter what.
Yeah.
So I don't think there was any avoiding that, in my opinion. But I think, because what else would you think? I remember like having issues as we were watching the game, but now that I'm sitting here and thinking on it, I don't know what else that I thought the coaching staff did that was really egregious. I just thought the fake kick was really that awful. And to his credit,
I can give you a couple.
Yeah, okay, well, but I just want to say to his credit, it was the first thing Tomlin, he owned up to it immediately in the presser. And so I'll give him a little bit of credit.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'll give him a little credit though of just not doing that move where he waits for somebody to bring it up and then he's like, well, I thought it was the best thing to do in the time. I just liked that he, faced it because I think he probably realized it was kind of a dumb decision. And, I don't know. But go ahead. What else? What was the other? What did you have?
Well, you have to acknowledge a play call like that just because of how exceptionally dim-witted it was. And again, whenever I talk badly about Tomlin, I also want to make it clear. I understand what a good motivator he is, and he brings the best out of his players, and they fight hard for him. But come on, the guy's a dinosaur, and if anybody still thinks he's an elite coach after today, I really don't know what more to tell you. But in addition to the fake kick, which is obviously the most egregious, there were a couple I know that Tomlin doesn't directly call the plays on offense or defense, but there were a couple really bad play calls where you had TJ Watt lining up on Jarvis Landry, and I swear to God, I had flashbacks. Yeah,
they're still getting motioned into that stuff constantly. Yeah. But you know what though? Because I was paying attention to that, and a couple of times it really did hurt them. But there was a couple of times where I don't know if they brought Norwood or Terrell over the top or something, but there were a couple of times where it didn't end up hurting them. I remember being like, oh my God, TJ's out there in space, but Baker wasn't able to get it there for whatever reason. So, it wasn't as killer as it was in the wild card game for sure.
That's true. It's frustrating to see the same mistakes, and Tomlin just has that thing where he's like, no, we're going to do it this way and we're not going to change. And I think the Canada hire was a nice change of pace, and I actually really liked the play calling on offense today. I actually thought that the offense was much better than 15 points. I just think it was a matter of finishing drives. But
well, yeah, if you have the kicker, like I said, it's easily another 5, probably 8 points that they score.
At least, yeah. Yeah, by and large, it was a pretty good game. It was just absolutely excruciating to watch at parts. I freaking made a pretty hard drink at halftime because I needed it.
Oh, that's the move. I remember pouring last year at halftime in the Colts game when we were in that just bottoming out phase, and I was like, I went in the kitchen and poured a double. I remember that game. I was like literally emotional at the end of it when he threw the touchdown to Juju and stuff. Cause I've said this before, but I thought we were watching Superman, put on the cape for like one last time. And I was like, the double at halftime obviously helped the emotions, but, yeah, that was a good experience. No halftime drinks for me today. I was mostly halftime, I like teleported through halftime because I was so just, I mean, in utter disgust and disbelief about the fake field goal. I was sick to my stomach. I thought it was going to be just an unforced error that altered the entire season for both of these teams. But somehow they sustained it. And you know, how do you, so obviously going in and to your, you know, a big rivals thing, we know the context of what's happened between these two teams, but how do you rank this game as a performance for the Steelers? Does this make you feel more positive about them, about the same, more negative? Do you think Cleveland, like, did this say more about Cleveland than it did Pittsburgh, or where do you stand on the sort of net result of the narrative out of this game?
I was laughing at something in the chat. Yeah, if I had to give the Steelers, like the actual players on the field, if I were to give their performance a rating out of 10, I'd probably give them like an 8 or like a 7.5. They did really well by and large. Even the O-line, outside of Dan Moore, who got absolutely obliterated by Myles Garrett over and over again. But as far as the run blocking goes, which is we're a run-heavy team, so that's what's the most important. I thought they did really well. We were stringing out, or excuse me, not stringing out. We were getting 4 or 5 yards per carry, it seemed, in a lot of spots. So I liked that. You could tell that the game plan today was run the ball, stop the run, and they executed it pretty much as well as you could versus the best running team in the entire fucking league. So I really can't complain on that. If I were to give the coaching staff a rating out of 10, I'd give them like a 2.
Interesting.
So, maybe not a 2,
I
but
don't
like
think you can't go. I mean, they still gotta win that they weren't favored to get on the road against a division opponent. I mean, it can't go that dark.
I understand that, but I mean, when you get bailed out by your players, to me, that's just like,
yeah, I guess
I can't help but feel,
that's
and
fair.
that you can call me pessimistic if you want. The chat can tear me apart for this. That's fine. I can't help but feel that this season will end because we're going to get into a big spot and Tomlin is going to call another stupid fucking play call. I can't help but feel like that's how the season will end.
That's been the end of almost every season that I've been watching for the last 10 years, bro. So, yeah. I mean, you know, where am I getting off feeling that would be different? I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I think I can't go that low on rating them just because I think they did still get the win. And if you're going to include all the coaches and you're not just talking about Mike, I think you got to give serious props. This is a guy who's much maligned, but does his job.
Canada?
Well, no, I want to talk about Butler a little bit, actually, because no one ever wants to talk about Keith Butler, but everyone wants to talk about the Steelers' defense and how it gets all these sacks and everything. And, you know, end of the day, his defense gave up 10 points. I mean, they gave up 10 points. They gave up one drive, really, to the Browns. And that's it. Against an offense that's been putting up points, you know?
The run D did well, but the play calling on passing downs just seemed terrible because you saw Landry, Hooper, you saw guys get open, like not just open, wide open. And so you can place a little bit of blame on the players for that, but I mean, when it's over and over and over again, you have to adjust to that. Like, I think that the Browns, they didn't do as much as the Steelers to lose this game as we did to win it, but damn, it was close.
Oh yeah, I mean, I said this earlier in the show, but I really thought if I was a Browns fan, I'd probably be pretty pissed about this game, to be honest, because they got we said this. I don't think we said this on the air. I think this was when you and I were just bullshitting before we got on, but how. And everybody in the chat can hold me up to this. But which, by the way, everybody in the chat, make sure you hit that like button, please. Like, you're in YouTube, just like hit the like button. It helps us rank. You'll get more people in here. Then you get to like be like, oh, I was here first, and you know, whatever.
Think about whenever we have 100,000 subscribers, you can say that you were in before 10K.
Exactly. You know, I won't front. I completely lost my train of thought when I brought that up.
It's all about situational awareness, man. And I mean, I think that's just, it's been a giant problem for a long time now.
It has. Oh, we were talking about the defense a little bit. Yeah, I mean, uh, I don't know. I feel like when you have that kind of a performance in terms of like holding Nick Chubb to 16 carries for 61 yards, I think you just love to see it. And I think against that offensive line, that's a very good job. There was a few plays where they schemed guys wide open.
Yeah.
But they, yeah. Oh, the refs. That's what I was going to talk about before. That's what I was about to bring up. I was about to say this is, I never go there, but, because talking about Cleveland Browns fans and stuff. I remember now. Anyway, I was saying that like, I'm never one to blame refs after a game unless it's egregious, like the Saints game with the Joe Hayden pass interference on 4th and whatever from midfield. That was just, come on, you can't call that in that moment. But typically I don't blame refs. I thought today everything went Cleveland's way, and not just random plays, but big moments. I mean, you're calling a little ticky-tack hold on the center on a quarterback draw on a 2-point conversion when the quarterback's already past the guy. Okay. You're calling it on a reverse where the guy is not even close to the receiver. It doesn't impact the play at all. Okay.
He was holding though.
I know, but sure. But I'm just saying there are these moments. I mean, I thought the one on the quarterback draw on Ben, I thought that was so ticky-tack. And I thought that what was there? There was another one later in the game that was a huge moment.
It was the picked up roughing the passer. That's what pissed me off.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, because he landed on him with his full body weight.
Full body weight and no call, or the fact that Boswell got a hit to the head and they didn't call it.
Oh, that's true. I really can't believe they didn't call that. The one thing I was lucky though that they were lucky is that I thought they were gonna call a roughing the punter. Remember when was it Marcus Allen or somebody
like he nicked into his ankle? Or
I think it was Benny
shit.
Snell. Yeah, because he went down and he just kind of landed under the guy, and it was like a 4th and 15. That would have been just a fucking killer. Yeah, I thought, but yeah, I thought if you're a Browns fan, I felt like most of those big calls and big moments went your direction. The Steelers, they possessed the ball a little bit, but they weren't dominant. I mean, Najee had 91 carries 91 yards on 26 carries. That's, decent for the Steelers, but that's not really particularly exciting.
It's complimentary football,
115.
basically.
I mean, yeah. You look at these offensive things, and it's like 115 yards rushing, 3.6 per carry, 266 passing on a 12.1 per catch average. I mean, they're it doesn't seem like they do anything good particularly, but they are kind of mixing it up, and I like the distribution of what's happening here with Freiermuth and Zach Gentry, who's apparently a part of the offense.
I like Gentry. He's a good run blocker. I mean, he's basically our Matt Spaeth.
Well, and they get him on those little screens, and he's so tall that like Ben just, he can loft it over whatever defenders in the middle, and he's going to be able to get it.
Isn't he like 6'10" or something?
He's huge. Yeah, he's very tall.
Someone in the chat, I just wanted to bring it up. Someone in the chat called me an idiot. And said that Mike Tomlin is a top 3 head coach. Can you literally give me one reason why he's a top 3 coach? One.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Mike T as a man. I
do too. If he ran for president, I'd vote for him.
Yeah. He does stuff sometimes, man, where you're just like, like that's why I was so sick. Like I said, so sick at halftime because I was like, Mike, like you were like dealing. It's like when you're watching a pitcher having a great game or something, and then they just get too cocky and they just throw a fastball right down the middle, and boom, it's out of the park. I was just like, Mike, you don't need that though. Just if you're gonna play this kind of a game and you're gonna gear everything towards playing this kind of a game, we're gonna crash the line, we're gonna stop the run, we're gonna assert the run on our offense. Then you just got to lean in and you got to take the field goals. I thought we were looking at a Kansas City Chiefs playoff game type thing here, where it's just going to be like 15. They might have, if Boswell never went out, they might have just had 15 just on field goals alone. It might have been.
Mike Tomlin is the only coach I've seen in quite some time, at least, that refuses to go for it on 4th and 1, but calls a field goal fake pass on a 4th and 9.
I know.
I don't get it.
Were you shocked though? By the way, did you see when they mentioned Roma was talking about it? The Steelers are actually tops in the league on third between 1 and 3 yards now. Did you?
Yeah.
What the hell? What happened there? How did that happen? I mean, I guess I know it's been better this year, but I didn't realize they were like tops in the league. That's wild. That was the big bugaboo the last 5 years.
It's all Najee too.
I know.
It's all Najee.
It really is.
Najee has, I'm not gonna say carried this O line because that's not really fair. They have made improvements, but I mean, god damn, is he carrying a lot of the weight.
He is. Because he just makes something out of everything, even if it's 4 yards. He's good, and I thought today you saw some strides with him where the Chargers have that all dark uniform on. It's cool, good look. I've never seen them wear that one yet. I thought Najee is starting to see the field a little bit different. I think one of the things I talked about early in this season, because obviously we were all very, you see Najee and he just jumps off the page at you, right? So
Yeah.
we were all just immediately like, oh, this guy he's so good, he's gonna be this, and particularly coming from a place of not really having physically imposing running backs the last couple of years. However you feel about James Conner, it's just you look at him and you look at Najee and you're like, I want that guy. But one thing we've mentioned on the show, and I've talked about a couple times, is that he's still been missing things. And even today, I'm sure there was. I'll look at it when I look at the tape, but he'd had moments where he'd miss holes or whatever. But man, today I thought he was just on his. I thought he was on his P's and Q's, and I thought he was patient. I thought I don't know. They say rookies coming out of the bye tend to have a little bit of a jump in their playing ability, and if there's any indication, the way him and Freiermuth contributed today, that would be a very exciting proposition.
Yeah, it was really exciting to see. I think Pat Freiermuth's been good all year, and I think Najee's been good all year, but I think that you're seeing Pat kind of reach his potential in this offense, and I think we're seeing Najee improve. I don't think he's hit his peak yet, and I don't think Pat has either, but I think Najee has a bigger peak. And I got to bring it up. Someone mentioned it in the chat, and you know me, I love me some Matt Canada. So what about Matt Canada's trick plays today? I freaking loved it.
There were some good ones. There were a couple stinkers, but mostly I thought they were
one or two.
Yeah, mostly I thought they were really good.
The jet sweeps, the reverses, that toss to Chase Claypool that went for like 30 yards. That was awesome. They were well set up. I greatly enjoyed the play calling today. Like I said, I thought the play calling was way better than 15 points. I just thought we had issues capping off drives.
Yeah, I think I would probably agree with that. Man, I like the prospect of the offense, and did he end up with a touchdown, or did he have? They only scored. Yeah, so he threw a touchdown, right?
Yeah, that one to Pat. That was another thing. We kind of got bailed out in this game by Pat.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second because that is a big play. But now, we're looking at a point now where we start to say Ben's going to be having like 1,700 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I don't know, like, where are we with Roethlisberger right now? We'll go to Pat right after this, but sure. Let's just talk Ben right now. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. And him.
Ben is on pace because we're officially to the middle of the season, correct?
There's no exact middle because there's 17 games this year, but we've played 7 now, so we have 10 left.
Okay. So we haven't even hit the midway point, but let's just call it roughly the middle of the season. He is on pace for 3,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. If you can keep him as a game manager...
That's if you just double his stats?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. And I upped it a little bit because we're not to the halfway point yet.
Yeah.
So, like, honestly, I'm okay with keeping Ben as a game manager. I do not trust him uh, when you throw it 50 times a game. But if you do what we're doing now, where you keep him on a leash, you keep him under center and play action and all that, that's a winning recipe in my opinion. As long as you just don't put the heavens and the earth on him, because then we're gonna fall just like we have in years past.
That's fair. I think he did. I don't know. I guess he did take over the game. I don't know how much. I guess how much credit do you give him on that RPO throw to Deontay, which was open, but I mean he did nail him. He did drill it right in stride, and he went out and he went out and won the game. They had an opportunity first. Remind me, what was the sequence of events? So they had. I just have to think this back over. So it was. Cleveland had the drive, and then they had the fumble, right? And then we took over with like 6 minutes to go, which was a godsend. That was crazy.
And then we went 3 and out and gave
and then
the
they
ball
went 3
right
and out,
back.
which was infuriating. That was the time to just finish the game right there. But then they kicked
We've
it
been
back.
doing that since Cower was our head coach.
Right. And then they punted it back. Presley had a terrible punt. And Cleveland drove, and then they petered out, right? It was the 3rd and 12 to 4th and 12, and then they didn't convert.
Yep.
So, I mean, but then at that point, they still had all 3 timeouts, and the Steelers needed to get a conversion to win the game, and they did it. I mean, Ben went to his number one guy, the guy he trusts the most, especially with Juju out, and he took care of it. So I guess at the end of the day, I got to say this is a plus game for Ben, and considering the context, I think is, even though you're not blown away by the stats, I think this is probably his best game of the season.
He did a good job at, like, he's learning his role, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, and really that's okay. And like in the last 3 games, for instance, which are all wins, obviously, he has something like 700 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. So he's doing better. But my worry is they're gonna let loose on the leash a little bit too much in a crucial point. And let's just hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, but well, you know what I like though here is, like, you look at the last few weeks, and some of this is a little higher than you'd like, but still it's trending in the right direction. Since that Cincinnati game, he's got 40, these are pass attempts, 40, 25, 40, 34. That's good. That's a much healthier, we're in a more healthy place with that. And I think that's so important. He did, again, this was a theme to the first 5 weeks of the season, but Ben didn't really get hit today. Not, he had that one sack that the guy came down on him, but I don't think it was, like, I don't think he's in significantly more pain right now than he was 4 hours ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think
probably, yeah.
I think he was physically taken care of. It wasn't like those first couple weeks. Remember against the Raiders when we were like, oh my God, he's getting walloped. Like, so that speaks to your point of him sort of finding his role and the flow, and the offensive line improving now is giving him that difference between that 2.1 and the 2.4 seconds to throw. And I think you're seeing him be a lot more accurate because of it. I'd love to see the sort of throw chart for the day, because I don't really remember where Ben was throwing it, but I felt like he probably threw it a little over the middle today, just with how much play Freiermuth was getting. But
they might have once or twice, but it really did seem like they just weren't intent on using the middle of the field unless it was like right in front of the O-line.
Yeah.
Do you hear what Ben said to Myles Garrett after the game?
No, what did he say?
You can keep your tombstone. I'll take the win.
Yeah, that's my man right there.
Savage.
I love Ben, man. He's just, never take my stuff out of context. I know I was hard on him early in the year, but that's because I thought he was playing shittier than he should have been playing.
He was.
And I don't take it back. I didn't say he couldn't play better. I just said that he wasn't. But I never, and I said this on the show repeatedly, I never question that dude's want to, ever. He really is the ultimate competitor. And he's just one of those people. You could be playing a game where you're throwing paper balls into a garbage can, and he's going to lift the heavens and the earth to try to beat you. Like, he's just that guy. And so I'll never question that about him. And I love that he said that. That's a good little tidbit. Where'd you pick that up?
Twitter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like he has Ben has those moments where he just says a funny one-liner that
he's funny. Yeah, because he's sarcastic. He's real good at saying those little things. That thing with him with the USC gloves today or this week, did you see that?
I did not.
Oh, it's so good. After Tomlin threw the shit fit on Tuesday, which was justified about the USC question, he I guess when Ben did his thing on, I don't know if it was Wednesday or Thursday, but he must have borrowed, I assume, from Juju USC receiver gloves. So he like made a point to like rub his nose and like fix his hat while he was talking and stuff. So it was just like a little like haha funny joke. But
I heard a story about Ben the other day. He said one of my, I don't remember who this was, so sorry that I can't shout you out. It said, true story, Ben used to live in my neighborhood, and one of my friends took our kids trick-or-treating and went to Ben's house. Ben opened the door, and the kid said, the kid said, hey, can I have your autograph? And he said, it's Halloween, not Christmas, and dropped a candy bar in his bag.
You love it. Oh, man.
He's funny, man. He really is.
It is. He's the best. But I think this says really positive things about the Pittsburgh Steelers going forward, and I'm excited about it. I think Ben could continue to get better, and if they keep him upright and healthy, and he continues to trend in the right direction, they got a puncher's chance, which is what I just keep talking about. I think you just have to give yourself a chance in those later rounds because you just never know what could happen. And suddenly we're at 4-3.
Give Tomlin credit for. Yeah, like I'll give Tomlin credit for this, and I kind of want to circle back to what you just said. Tomlin is an exceptional motivator, and he's an exceptional leader. Like, it doesn't matter if a team's 0-16 and the last game doesn't mean anything. He will have them fighting and scrapping and clawing for every single yard.
He is a leader of men. There's no doubt about that.
And so I think that there's a possibility that us being 4-3 at this point could be a good thing for us, because in my opinion, the Steelers have never, ever been at their best when everyone expects them to do well and they're one of the juggernauts in the AFC. They always do better when nobody thinks they will.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That's always been the case.
And I don't get it. We lose to, what's the example I keep giving you? We lost to the 2-12 Oakland Raiders and then beat the Patriots the next week.
It's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It doesn't make any fucking sense, man. But like,
I know.
I don't know if we're counted out, I think that's when the Steelers are at their best. So we can see what happens.
Here's the thing. A couple weeks ago, we talked about this after the win with the first one, which was against Denver, and we all had this realization because I think after that was when Wilson went out that day. Looks like Jameis is hurt for the Saints. I didn't know he got hurt today.
Yeah, I heard.
He stinks anyway.
I don't know.
They're not going to be any better because the other guy stinks too. But
I don't like Jameis is. I don't really know what to think about Jameis. I love his footwork because it's so erratic and ridiculous.
He sucks.
He's not very good. He's better at groping Uber drivers than he is throwing passes.
Who isn't, though, if you really think about it? I mean, it's a much easier... Oh, excuse me. I'm just in a good mood. I'm just joking, okay? All I'm saying is there's a lot more people that have done that than thrown an NFL touchdown. That's all. That's just a fact. Just being honest.
God, I'm gonna clip that.
Okay, let's not cancel old Stevie / 5-star mashup.
No.
Let's not do that. Although I stand by it. We promised we were gonna talk about Freiermuth, and man, that might have been. I was texting my uncle because he goes, what's gonna be the 5-star play of the game. And I'm not sure, no spoilers. I don't know where I go with that. But I that's a strong contender because that play kind of just bailed him out. I mean, that was 4th down, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Shit. I mean, for a rookie tight end, I mean, that and there was bobbling. I mean, literally, I saw it happen in real time. I saw how he was maneuvering where his feet were, and I was like, "There's no way. I couldn't believe they ruled it a catch on the field because I was like, no, there's no chance that was a catch." And hell,
I was pretty confident that by the time he caught it, one of his feet was out of bounds. But then on the replay, he made a clean catch.
No, the guy catches fucking everything.
He did have one drop today on a crucial third down, but he more than made up for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had one where he was covered, but like the pass hit him right in the hands. You gotta have that. But then later on in the game, he has a fucking that's gonna be probably one of the best catches of any receiver on the Steelers the whole season. Like it was exceptional, and it was against I forget who it was, but it was one of Cleveland's better pass defenders. He was all over Pat, and he was like, "I don't give a fuck. I'm catching this."
Yeah, hell yeah, man. If you are hanging out in the chat, by the way, make sure you hit that like button real quick. Let's get this thing up a little bit closer to 30 likes. That'd be chill. And if you like what we do, make sure you subscribe to the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And make sure you stick around for the ultimate Steelers post-game wrap-up video coming probably tomorrow morning from 5-Star Matchup, the meat and potatoes that is our show. Hopefully the show does really well tomorrow considering the context. I'm looking forward to kind of flying through it. The last episode was a Sunday night game, so that was an experience. At least I got a few hours of a head start this time, not starting at midnight.
And also, if you guys would like to go back and check out the pregame hype package that I put
just
together
for fun, just do that, just to get hyped up again. I think
I called off work to edit that video. You guys owe me that much.
Man.
Yes,
Good
man.
I did. Well, you got it done, and it did well this morning. A lot of people were really screaming happy stuff in the comments. So very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, it's been the last 24 hours, man. I've been kind of a roller coaster, but I'd say it ended about as well as it could, given the circumstances.
I hear you, my man. I'm so happy and excited about the existence of this win. But the flip side of that was that yesterday was a very long day for me. As you know, I hosted a little bit of a party at my place last night, so we had people here until like late. Like very late, too late for my old ass, but it was a fun time. So, but I'm still like, you know that thing where like you're somewhere where it's loud for several hours and you're happy and yet talking to people, but you don't realize how loud you're talking for like 5 straight hours. So then you're just like, throat feels like shit the next day and everything.
I have ADHD, so I'm constantly.
So you're constantly yelling, and yes, I have the similar experience with Beth. That's the thing.
My girlfriend will constantly be like, "Gage, just turn the voice down a bit." I'm like, "Am I yelling?"
There's always got to be one in the relationship, it's the one that that keeps.
It's funny. She's the loud, fiery one that like tells waiters that they got my order wrong.
Yes, you gotta have that. You gotta have that good support. It's important.
100%.
But Freiermuth, man, he continues to be on an upward trajectory, and I think you're gonna be looking at him. Man, he's got every tool in the book to be the best tight end that Steelers have seen. Really, he just is.
He's the next Heath Miller, man. I've been saying it since we drafted him.
I think his ceiling's higher.
Yeah, you could definitely make that argument. I think Heath at his peak was a top 3, top 5 tight end in the league. I think Freiermuth has the ceiling of the best tight end in the league, but I don't think he'll reach that. But I think he has that potential. Just because of the fact he knows how to play.
Yeah,
like
I think you could. Yeah.
Almost every time that Ben throws it to Pat, he's wide freaking open. And you and I were talking about this on a stream the other day.
Finding the feel.
Where he knows how to play. You said he's a lot like who did you say it was?
Jason Witten was my comparison. Like just where you don't have it's not necessarily that he's the fastest or strongest or shiftiest or whatever, but knowing where to find your spot, and I think that's what I see with Freiermuth is he just knows how to play the game, and to be having the impact he is as a rookie is, make no mistake, for a tight end, very impressive, because there are tight ends that get drafted early in the first A couple of guys the Lions have drafted over the years come to mind. Ebron and TJ Hawkinson, both. Like, as rookies.
Hawkinson's pretty good, though.
Yeah, but not as a rookie. He did almost nothing as a rookie. It's just, Dallas Goedert for Philly, who's turned into a nice player now, but it took, 2 or 3 years. It's a tough position, man. That's why I knew Freiermuth was going to be a good pick. My question with him was always, is that what we needed? Like, is that what you needed now? Because I felt like he was a later player that they needed now, but he's a now player.
He's definitely a now player, and I think he's only going to get better. He's a player that I just don't see regressing at any point.
No, I know. He's not surprising anybody. He's just making that catch was sick.
But like almost every time they throw the ball to him, he's wide open, and you just look at him and go, wait, why the hell was he even sitting there? But he's wide open, so you can't complain. You know what I mean?
Well, it gives them gives them that option that they didn't have there. Because Ebron's good at receiving, but Ebron is just a receiver. He doesn't. I think
all he does.
It doesn't seem like he has the feel for that position. If you need a guy, to me, when he comes back healthy, you got to be getting Ebron. I'd be using him more often to stretch the field deep against linebackers, because you put him in a track you put him in a track meet against a middle linebacker, he's getting past him. And either the safety's going to go down to him, or the safety's going to have to be helping on the outside with Claypool or Deontay, and he'll be open. I think this is important, and I know he's divisive among the fan base, but I do think even as Freiermuth continues to become really good, and even Gentry, Ebron still has a lot to offer, and I don't want him to become a complete afterthought in the offense, because I do think he is a dynamic player that can help you.
Here's my problem with Ebron, and I want to make it very clear before I say anything else. I like the guy. He seems like a really chill dude, and everybody who talks about him speaks about him glowingly. I also really like him like as a receiver, but his problem is that he can't block, and like that's fine. That's fine. He's a receiver. That is what it is. But when you have an offense like this that's run heavy, Ebron is a huge tell. And I remember Arthur. What? Go ahead.
He just doesn't fit. Yeah.
Yeah, like Arthur Motes actually talked about it before the start of the season. He said, whenever you have Ebron out in the field and you're running the ball, don't even worry about him, because they're never going to run to his side with him as the lead blocker. He's a giant tell. And that's why I think that Gentry has been getting more playing time, because even if he's just a blocker, blocking is what we need right now. We have enough receiving threats. We honestly, like, I hate to say this because this is going to sound meaner than I'm targeting, but we don't really need Ebron on this team.
No, I guess you don't need him. My point is just there's just not a ton of speed. The offense still doesn't have a ton of speed, and I think, I just think if you have somebody who's capable of being a matchup problem, you just have to deploy them sometimes, I think.
Well, they could do a little bit of what he does.
The Steelers end up being very all or nothing sometimes with players, and I don't always know that that's right. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Well, you can bring him in and do a little bit of what the Patriots did with Gronk, where you just match him up with a linebacker. I mean, do you really think that Ebron's going to lose against a lot of linebackers? No, he can do well in that role, but if we're going to run and run and run and just mix in a little bit of play action, like, Ebron isn't... I feel like we can put Ebron in when we're losing big, but I feel like that's all I want to see from Ebron,
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I'm not losing sleep about the amount Ebron's playing. It's just something I've been thinking about. And I think the other thing I did want to bring up, and this is maybe will be controversial. Taysom Hill isn't even the Saints' backup quarterback anymore, or is he also hurt?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think he's hurt. I think I heard something about him being hurt.
Because Jameis went out, but they got Trevor Siemian playing. Who?
No.
To be honest, Siemian is, I honestly think, a better quarterback than Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, he's not a
awful.
Quarterback. When they tried to actually play him at quarterback last year, if you watch those games, he stunk. He's not
Taysom Hill is Mormon Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
But even he is better than Trevor Siemian.
No, I thought Simeon was okay on terrible Broncos teams. I don't know.
I watched him because one of my friends, who was also my roommate in college, is a Broncos fan, and so we would watch the games whenever they were separate times in the Steeler games. And every time I saw Simeon, he threw at least 2 picks.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying
he's terrible.
I think he's probably better than Taysom Hill. I don't know.
And of course, guess who gets to play that injury-ridden Trevor Siemian-led team? Tom Brady.
Of course, I know. Yeah, I don't know, man. Where we're at, where we're going with this team, I don't know. I feel like every week I both know more and less than I did the week before. And I started to say this earlier, but we zoned in on this when we had the Denver win, and then you saw Russell going out, and you're like, wow, we got, that make no mistake, even though that was an ugly win, Wilson not playing was a godsend. Huge. Because the Steelers don't win that game against Russell Wilson. Sorry. No, they just don't. No, not in their current state. They just don't.
No.
So, we zeroed in. Okay, well, we got these next 2 games here where you can get to 500, and then you got your make or break game against Cleveland. Because then right after that, you got these 2 easier games, which you never want to call anything easy, but Detroit and Chicago.
Steelers.
Which one comes first? Is it Detroit first and then Chicago, or is it Chicago and then Detroit?
I don't remember.
It's the Bears next week on Monday night.
Ugh,
I hate Monday night games. That's the worst one for the show, because it's not there's no good time to put the show out because Monday night sucks. And then it's the Lions after that. But we talked about this stretch here where it was like you could get those couple wins, and you have your big division wins, and then you could really start rolling. I mean, you can, again, never look past anybody, but the Steelers should beat the Bears, and they should beat the Lions. And if you do that, suddenly they're 6-3, Gage.
We're talking about the Steelers, though.
I know. But my point is that it's there. It's there for you, though.
It's there.
You have to take things as they lie, and the reality is that, we started 1-3, but when you really look at it in retrospect with what the Raiders have done, Bengals and Packers have done, lost to some pretty good teams. I still think, a couple little things go differently in one of those games or 2 of those games, and maybe the whole start of the season doesn't look quite as bad. I still am, no matter what happens this season, we could win the Super Bowl, and I'm still going to be pissed about the Bengals game, because I just thought that was just an atrocity. I don't know how you fucking throw the ball 58 times for 10 points. I don't
know how you throw a fucking screen pass on 4th and 10.
I just don't get that game. That game just completely got out of control. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a awesome Pittsburgh Steelers win against the Cleveland Brownies in Cleveland today. Man, you just love to see it.
I'm going to use this as an opportunity to talk a little bit of shit about the Browns, because I still am not convinced that they're an elite team, especially this year.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, okay, so, they put up 48 points on the Steelers. I'm like, yes, they had 4 drives in the first quarter that started in our fucking territory.
Mm-hmm.
Then, on top of that, if it wasn't for Tomlin being a coward and punting it on that 4th and 1, they might have actually blown that game. And then the next week, they lost to Chad Henne.
Yeah.
So they still haven't convinced me that Baker's an elite quarterback.
They beat us at home in the playoffs. I can't play that game. They did beat us at home in the playoffs. Bad.
Yeah, I know. But that was a great mixture of things. And I think this game was the last year the Steelers were trending down and the Browns were trending up. And right now I think it's the exact opposite. I think the Browns are trending down and we're trending up.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely true. I mean, this has been probably a more of a struggle to the start of the season for the Browns than anybody would have anticipated, right? Even the most, pro Steeler person. I don't know that most people thought the Browns would only be like 4-4 at this point, right?
If you would have said at the start of the season, no. I remember a lot of people were predicting the Browns to win the division and go like 12-5. Now here they are at 4-4.
Man, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are over 500
with the hardest strength of schedule in the entire league, mind you.
I just like, I guess I think I feel like I need to see one good game where I'm dying to have a game where the Steelers just where they just like put up some points and pull away and win a game by like 12 points. You know, I know
Steve,
it's too much to ask. I know.
No. It's illegal for the Steelers to play well for 4 quarters.
It seems to be. It really does. It's so frustrating. But I mean, today I really can't complain. I mean, I feel like a kid in a candy store. If I was really being honest with you, I don't think in my heart of hearts, I didn't really think that the Steelers were I didn't think they were gonna be able to win today. I just didn't. I thought
it didn't.
Because Cleveland, we can shit on them all we want. We're Steelers fans. They're moving in the right direction. They're a good team. They got a running game. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. It's a tough proposition. You know, the offense still isn't really clicking. This and that. So I really thought this could be a day where the Steelers could play really good and still lose. I mean, that's, you know, it can happen when you're on the road against a division opponent. But that didn't happen, and that's not what happened. And they took care of business and got the win. So I don't know. I feel pretty hyped on that win. I think that to me is obviously the highlight of the season to this point.
Yeah, to this point, definitely. I still think the biggest upset of the year so far from any team, I think, is the Steelers' Week 1 win over the Bills. And it's like, I feel like this is a Steeler team that wins when it should win and loses when it should lose. That's just kind of the vibe I get from them, because we've lost to good teams and we've beaten bad to average teams. And I think that's probably the way we're going to trend. Anything can happen in the playoffs. I want to say that. Like, anything can happen once you make it to the dance, but we got to make it to the dance first, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with that. You just got to stay. I mean, that to me was the whole my whole underline of this entire game today was that, you know, and I kept saying this out loud. And it's like, you just got to keep it close, because the longer they kept this game close, the longer that you were going to put the pressure on Cleveland's offense to have to answer. And I think you saw that against a good defense. If they have to answer, I'm not sure you can count on Cleveland's offense to do that consistently, particularly on a day when Nick Chubb is only averaging, 3.8 per carry.
I remember I asked you guys in the chat, I said, is Baker any good at the 2-minute drill? And you said, yeah, he's solid. And then, like, second or third play of the drive, TJ got that sack. And I was like, well, there you go. So, I mean, when the defense can do the heavy lifting, that's when Steeler teams historically have been at their best. Like, we've never been a high-flying team that wins Super Bowls. We've always been smash mouth, ground and pound, run the ball, have a good defense, stop the run. Like, we're doing what we should, I guess is my point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, real quick, I mean, before we get out of this thing, we talked about Ben a little bit. We talked about a couple different things. We didn't talk too much about, and we talked about Keith Butler for a little bit, but the defense in general, how do you feel about the defense right now, considering where they're at? Because I tend to feel like, because of the lack of splash plays and turnovers, it doesn't feel like the defense is as good as they've been the last couple years. But part of me today started to wonder, is that just a result? Like, we all know splash plays on defense, there's no way to really predict it. You can't really be good at that. You can have players who are good, but, it just happens. You'll have seasons where it's like, oh, they only got 15 turnovers. Sometimes that just happens. So I wonder, is that the only real difference? Is the defense still pretty good? I don't know. Where do we sit on that?
Well, I do have to briefly mention again, no Tuitt, no Tyson,
Mm-hmm.
because I do think that greatly, not greatly, but it definitely plays a factor. But
Sure,
I
but yeah,
think our
that's things as
defense.
they stand. I mean, they're gone all year. It is what it
Yeah,
is. I
yeah,
mean, you know.
yeah. Well, so here's what I'm saying though: is that I think that we're better than the numbers say we are. I think that when you have a defense like we have that's kind of built on pressure, when you don't have some of the pass rushers, it's going to give up a little bit of yardage. But I
Mm-hmm.
thought that when it mattered, the Browns couldn't really do shit to us. And so I think our defense is good. I think I would probably put them as the 10th best defense in the league, somewhere around there.
Yeah, but it would be clear that they would have the potential to be higher than that. Wouldn't you
Yes.
think? Wouldn't you say?
Yes, 100%. And the Steelers historically, I mean, and this is something I'll give Tomlin credit for, is that his teams tend to do better as the season progresses. That hasn't been the case in recent years, mind you, but in recent years, we put the load on Ben's shoulders entirely. And so
Mm-hmm.
now that we have a little bit of a game plan, I think we could do well, like come December, come January. And like, again, once you get into the playoffs, man, anything can happen. If you thought that the 2011 Giants going into the playoffs, that they were going to win the Super Bowl and they were going to beat the Patriots, I would have called you a damn liar. So, I mean, it's just, you never know what's going to happen, man. You never know.
That is the underline to the entire Steelers fan experience, is it not? By the way,
Yes.
I just wanted to point this out. I don't know if you saw this. That Mike Hilton actually had like what ended up being the game-ending penalty for the
Yes.
Bengals. You saw that?
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
Yeah, he had there was a 3rd and 10 or something, and he hit the guy helmet to helmet and got a personal foul, and it kept the drive going, and Cincinnati didn't have any more timeouts, or they had one or whatever, but essentially the game ended up being over after that. So
Hey, look,
congrats,
another
Mike.
Steeler that leaves and then falls off a cliff.
Oh, poor Mike. I always loved that guy, but you
I
know,
did.
I
I
know.
did, and then he
I
started
know.
talking a lot of
Sometimes you gotta
shit.
go talk, but that's just who he is. That's just his identity.
But
Once he
it was a
leaves
bit
there, I'll
much.
be over it, and I'm not gonna be mad at Hilton. I liked Mike Hilton. I can't.
I
I'm one of
yeah.
those guys. Like I can't flush away. It's why I feel so conflicted about AB, because I'm always like, I hate the human you are now, but I'm not gonna act like I didn't have so many happy moments watching you. You know what I mean? I'd be lying
I
to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. AB is the best receiver I've ever seen in my life, and
Hmm.
so I'll always, you'll always have the memories. But like, if tomorrow Kevin Colbert went out and like traded for Antonio Brown, it would be very hard for me to feel any sort of good way about that at all.
Brady threw a pick against the Saints. The Saints are in scoring range now, and they're
Yeah,
already up 10-7.
good, good.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no,
I
I don't want him back. I don't want him back. Although he would make this team better, but I think he's going to be
He
out a
would.
while. I think he's hurt. I think he's going to be out a while.
Eh, I could
Yeah.
care less. No, but like, I don't know, man. Anytime that I see Brown, I think of the furniture. I think of the settlement. I
100,
just it's very
miles an
hard
hour.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to find
Speaking
good
of
words to say about Brown.
speaking of receivers, I don't think I brought this up. If I meant to, but we're both ADDing a little bit today.
Every day with me.
Yeah, Claypool. I wanted to bring up Claypool.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what your thought is. I know you're very pro Claypool, but I end up feeling like shocked at how little impact it feels like he has on games. And
Yeah, I'm with you.
isn't it kind of weird? I don't know. I don't know what he is. I mean, today somehow he had 4 for 45. He did have that one nice catch where Ben kind of lollipopped it and he had to kind of combat catch it. So that was an improvement, because that's something I've been getting on him for. But I don't know. What's Claypool had now? One good game this year? He's got one touchdown.
Claypool is a guy who I think works best either when A, he's using his giant frame to make contested catches or get pass interference calls,
Mm-hmm.
or B, when he's doing the jet sweeps and reverses and whatnot. Like when you can get Chase into open field, and I'll say the same thing about Deontay too, actually, because I think it both applies. Like when you can put either of them in the open field, I think that's when you find the most success with them. But like I don't know, right now this offense is Ben, not because he's the quarterback, Najee and Deontay with a little bit of Pat Fryermuth sprinkled in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like Chase Claypool is, I want to say, an afterthought, but that's not his fault.
But
that's just because it's the offense.
He's too good though.
I agree.
I should say, he has the potential to be too good to allow that to happen. I mean, we were talking about Ben, not throwing it as many times, which is a good thing, but he still threw it 34 times today. And I mean, Deontay's always going to be the predominant catch guy on this offense, which is fine. But it's just, I don't know. It's interesting when you look at the distribution today, and you realize that, Fryermuth and Gentry had more. Fryermuth had the same amount of catches as Claypool. Gentry had 3 to Claypool's 4. Najee didn't do too much in the pass game today, which I was a little surprised about. But I don't know, with the state of Cleveland's secondary, they had a lot of guys out, and they lost another guy during the game. And I'm sitting here just thinking, how is that 6'5" guy who runs like a deer? How is he not impacting this game?
I think the reason for that, honestly, is Ben, because he is not a deep ball thrower at this point in his career. Like, he can do it when he absolutely has to, but if he has the choice, he's taking a check down over a one-on-one deep shot every day of the week. And I think that's also the game plan. That's actually something I wanted to mention real quick, and now that I remembered, was that I remember those little graphics about like which game plan is going to work, like at the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the one said that the Browns on defense, that their game plan should be, according to Tony Romo, to force the Steelers to have long drives, which makes zero sense because they literally do nothing but have long drives.
Yeah, he was trying to say, like, because the more you stretch out their offense, the more likely you are to get a negative play from a sack or a turnover. I get what he was going for, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I know what he was going for, but it was like Tony Romo's commentary was terrible today.
He kind of feels a little like he fell off after his first couple of years, right? Like the knowledge that he was really good changed it a little.
I feel like a lot of people are in his ear though. Like you remember his first couple of years where he was calling out the plays and saying what the hell is that coach doing?
There's always talk of like, oh well, he's like too popular, and now they're like blah blah blah. It's like,
yeah, it's the worst.
I still like him, but I
do too. I do too, but when he's talking about there were a couple moments in this game, not just one, but there were a couple where I was like, is Tony watching the game? Like again, when he said that Baker's looked really good so far.
I know. The Baker one I thought was really weird because, I mean, I didn't think Baker was bad, but to me, a guy who's watched a lot of football, I thought it looked like a guy who was playing probably a week before he should have been playing, and that's not a knock on him. I know his whole thing. Remember when he got knocked into the bench and he got up and he did the first down thing?
Yeah.
And I get it. And if that guy was on my team, I would love him too. So I get it. I'm not hating on the guy. He's trying to set the tone for the franchise. I get it. But I also just think sometimes you have to protect your players from themselves. And I just, to me, that was a guy that I didn't think he looked comfortable. And I thought he missed some big throws. And,
the MVP of this game should have been was Jarvis Landry. Because, I mean, there were at least 3 or 4 third downs that he dropped.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Oh man, my fantasy team, by the way, is absolutely killing it for me, by the way. I am playing my probably my closest friend in real life in this league right now, and he's dominating the league all year, and I'm just hovering around 500, and I have a bunch of players on buys this week, but everybody I played has touchdowns, and DK Metcalf already has 2 touchdowns. Love it. I'm having a good football Sunday, my man.
I don't know what it is about fantasy football. I just never really got into it. I did one full season. I think it was last season actually of fantasy, and I went like 11-5, I think. But
Nice.
I never seem to get into it. I don't know what it is.
It's not my favorite thing in the world, but the this year we started a new like legacy league, and we're doing it through this app called Sleeper, which is super interactive in it, and it's like kind of like Discord but for fantasy football. It's been kind of fun. They should sponsor the show actually.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if you guys are out there, we know you watch the show, Sleeper. You gotta sponsor us.
exactly, get on us. I know you got that venture capital money. Come on, you could throw a few stacks 5-star matchups way. Let's go. Speaking of throwing a few stacks 5-star matchups way, if you are listening to this right now, make sure you hit that like button in YouTube. Like, for real, do it right now, and hit the subscribe button if you aren't subscribed. I know you're probably subscribed, but you probably didn't hit the like button, so make sure you do that. And if you like what we do, please, please, please do consider giving $3 or $4 to the Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/5SMU. We have a short season, and we are doing our best to skyrocket towards a lovely 10,000 sub, marker. That's our waypoint. I'm trying to get going, as we were a little sticky out of the gates to start this season, but I think we're headed in the right direction now. So I'm very excited about that. Anyway, Gage, I think I got to start wrapping this thing up because I have to go work on the show. I got to go do the thing for the next 10 hours. Anything you want to leave the people with? Like, any closing thoughts, Maury Povich style final thought? What do you got for us?
It's a good question. I would say the defense is excuse me, the defense is trending up. And I think our play calling on offense is getting better. And so I think if we can stick what did I say that the entire theme of the season is a slow and steady improvement. And this is another game of that. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I think I'll leave it at that. So follow me on Twitter, you guys, Gage Ryan Video.
Follow him now, and follow me also.
Yeah.
Although if you're listening to this, you probably already follow 5-Star Matchup on Twitter, but if you don't, do it. And just most importantly, make sure you're sticking around for the show. Make sure you do us a solid. I know who the real ones are that have been here for 3 seasons already. Make sure that as soon as you see the show, you watch it. You watch the whole thing. You click that like button. You click that share button. Put it out on your Twitter. Retweet our tweets about it. Put it on your Facebook. I don't have Facebook because it's a nightmare. But, put it out there. Put it out there.
Click a couple ads.
Put it out there. Let us, help us get the 5-Star brand out there. We only got 10 more weeks to blow this thing up for the next year. So help us get that done. My parting thought on the Pittsburgh Steelers is the same thing it's been all year. The more we know, the less we know. Yeah. And in a way, that's so exciting because it's so much better than knowing what it is and knowing that it's crap. And man, this team is just winning games. They're just winning now. And I'm not going to act like it's the craziest thing that ever happened or whatever. The Browns this, the Seahawks that, whatever. They went into their division opponent's house, the team that was favored to win this division by many of the experts, and they knocked them off in a game that would have continued the franchise ascension for the Cleveland Browns. Ben Roethlisberger went in there one last time and showed who the owner of that stadium was. And it's Ben Roethlisberger. So, I don't know. Just stick around. Watch the show tomorrow. Share it up. We'll be here. Gage, I'll see you next time. And everybody in the chat, thanks for chilling. I hope everyone has a great night. Bye.
Take care, guys.